Welcome to Week 13. Bad offenses, inconsistent D, and two coaches who haven't found solutions to their biggest problems. Fickle inherited a program on the decline, while Rule had to build an entirely new foundation. But 2 years into their rebuilds, and it's hard to say who's done a better job. Saturday's a huge opportunity because, just like last season, it's a chance to secure a bowl game, and for the loser, one more loss will keep them home. Nebraska fans are looking for any reason to have hope. So today we'll look at the matchup, who has the advantage, and I'll tell you the three things that have to happen for Nebraska to pull off the win. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my post-game live reaction. And if you think the defense holds them to less than 14, hit the like button and help us get to 1,000. But now, let's get into it.
He's hit and set. He's taking a shot downfield, wide open end zone, caught, touchdown.
Before the season started, I think most people thought that Iowa, Michigan, USC, and Rutgers all had a shot to be ranked. But with only 2 weeks left, Illinois and Indiana are the only two Big Ten teams who surprised us and played well enough to stay in it. Fickle and Rule are both year two head coaches, but so are Kenny Dillingham at ASU, Dion at Colorado, and Barry Odom at UNLV. Think about that. Multiple years with bowl droughts, conference realignment to throw a wrench into things, and those coaches still found a way to win while Rule and Fickle had a much harder time. Playing in the Big Ten's the bigger challenge to overcome, but I think these new coaches who are more desperate and willing to recruit or go against the grain are going to push the old school coaches to adjust how they manage their teams going forward. I was reading an article that talked about which coach faces more pressure to win this week, and I think the obvious answer is Matt Rule. They're at home, they're the favorite, Raiola's healthy, and there's a significant edge with Holgorsen as the OC after Wisconsin fired Phil Longo. Add in the fact that Nebraska was up 14-0 last year before Wisconsin came back to win in overtime, and the players have that same revenge mindset that Illinois came in with earlier this year. The expectations in Lincoln were higher to start the season. Then losing Van Dyke and Malusi early on told us the 6.5 win total was probably out of reach after that. And if Nebraska can't take advantage of a broken down program the same way they were taken advantage of last season, what does that say about the culture? We've called a lot of games must wins, but this is the type of game that could make the biggest Matt Rule fans look at him differently depending on what that outcome is. Last night, my prize picks lineup hit after Jason Tatum hit 6 3-pointers. And now that Nebraska and Wisconsin players are up on the app, I'm using part of those winnings for a lineup on Saturday. So I'm taking Emmett Johnson to score, Jamal Banks to have more than 24.5 yards, Braden Locke to throw an interception, and the Wisconsin kicker to make at least 2 field goals. $20 pays $170, and if you want to make your own, you can sign up with our promo code CORN and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. So you just sign up, make a $5 play, and you get the $50 when you use our code. Prize Picks is available in Nebraska, California, Texas, and over 30 other states. So if you see your state colored in on the map, you can play there. I'll go over the rest of my plays on Friday night's live stream, but if you want to check out what they've got up now, you can use our promo code and join us over there. I want to start with last year's game. Both teams were 5-5, just like they are today. It was a home night game for a Wisconsin team favored by 7 in a much healthier and more complete form than Nebraska was. Rule was working with his third string QB, who got out to a hot start with a 58-yard touchdown pass to Jalen Lloyd and then a 55-yard run to go into the second quarter up 2 scores. The problem was they couldn't maintain that energy. Alvano missed a 42-yard field goal, they failed to convert on a 4th and 1, and every other drive ended in a punt. But that was a different Wisconsin team. They had a veteran QB in Tanner Mordecai, a star running back in Braylon Allen who tacked on 2 touchdowns. And more importantly, they believed they could win even though they were on a 3-game losing streak. Things aren't the same today. I'm confident in their defense that held Oregon to 16 points, but Braden Locke's one of the few QBs who's played worse than Raiola has this season. Looking at the edge, even after they fired their OC, I'm giving it to the team with a more consistent run game. Tawi Walker is one of the best backs in the Big Ten who's playing in an offense that wants to throw the ball. He averages almost 5 yards a carry, and last week, Wisconsin's backs went for 130 yards on 30 touches. I'm hesitant to say they'll run more this week than they did last, since Nebraska's run D is stronger and their pass D is obviously weaker. But no matter what they decide to do, I'm afraid their offense will move the ball into the red zone, even if they can't punch it in for touchdowns. On defense, Nebraska ranks 6 spots higher, but their best and most experienced DBs got worked against big USC wideouts, and I've got to assume Fickle's going to be able to take advantage in that same exact way. I know they've given up a lot of points to Bama, SC, Penn State, and Iowa, but when they play their best, they look like a classic Wisconsin D that tackles well, doesn't get beat deep or caught out of position. Nebraska's getting better on special teams, especially with their field goal block units and punting, but John Hull struggled at home against UCLA, and for that reason alone, it's going to make me nervous if the game comes down to making field goals. The coaching edge goes to the more complete staff with a more proven body of work. Fickle's got the playoff appearance, but Holgerson and White are going to be the two best coordinators in the building, and they shouldn't have a problem scheming against whoever is calling plays against them. And last is motivation. They're both excited to be there because they both want to win the game and get to a bowl. But it's senior day for a group that's been through it. It's one last chance to get it done against Wisconsin. And whether or not they play up to the level of their competition, I know that deep down they're going to want it more than the other guys do. If Nebraska's going to pull off the win this week, three things have to happen. First, special teams has to play winning football. It's going to be a low scoring game with two strong defenses abusing dysfunctional offenses. So Bushini's got to punt to win. They've got to pin him inside the 20 and then hope the D can capitalize on a mistake for a turnover that can hopefully swing momentum. John Hull's got to make his field goals in Memorial Stadium. He looked great at Ohio State, and then he came through at USC, but he was 50% against Illinois, and he can't miss when the whole season revolves around chasing three. Second is the defense has to limit big plays. Wisconsin's offense should look simple this week. They don't want game-changing turnovers, so a lot of run plays with Walker and maybe a few deep shots to receivers. But if they limit the long runs and then they take away the passes over the top, then Locke's going to have a hard time finishing drives in the end zone. And third is Raiola has to play smart. He can't throw 2 picks and then only score 14 points if he expects to win the game. Holgerson's made a point that they want to run the ball and they want to get it out of Dillon's hands quick so they aren't taking losses on sacks. But the next step to making the offense more effective is limiting turnovers that plagued this team all last season. Vegas set the line at Nebraska -2, and now it moved to -2.5, which basically says this is a perfectly even matchup, and then the home team gets a slight advantage. Last week, Vegas had a 50-point total and a 9-point spread favoring USC, which meant they predicted a 29-21 USC win. This week, the 42.5-point total says Nebraska's going to win 23-20. As a fan, it's hard to bet on your team because you let your emotions get involved when they shouldn't. But this week, I'm just betting on the trend. Nebraska's 7-3 against the spread this season, which means if you bet $100 on them every week, you'd be up $400 on the year. Wisconsin covered for me last week, but they lose a lot more often, so I'm riding with a team who's been more consistent. After the SC loss, I had a really hard time believing that Nebraska could win another game. Wisconsin's players are more familiar with Memorial Stadium. The last time they came to Lincoln, the offense drove down the field for a late TD to win that game by 1. This week shifted my perspective. You have Fickle, who got rid of Phil Longo. Holgerson pointed out the good and the bad that needs to be corrected to win on Saturday. And like every other delusional fan who gets overly confident for no reason, I'm back to believing that Nebraska can win, even though history says they won't. My heart tells me fans are going to try to make it hell on lock, and the defense comes up with at least 2 turnovers that swing momentum, like I said, has to happen. But my brain says the receivers are still going to struggle to get open, and they're not going to make plays downfield. So in this case, I'm just going to default to the Vegas model, the one that's been right 70% of the time when picking Nebraska. And I'm going to take them to win 20-17 with 2 field goals from John Hull to seal the deal and send Nebraska to their first bowl game in however many years it says on Twitter. I know the seniors are tired, the fans are over it, and the rebuild season at a school that wants to be good so damn bad is the toughest thing to deal with. But when Nebraska's up again and we're all in a good mood throughout the entire season, we'll look back to these days and we're going to laugh at how much pain we endured to get to that point. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Do you think Dylan throws for more or less than 200 yards this week? How many turnovers do you think the defense needs to pull off a win? And which game are you more confident in winning, Wisconsin or Iowa? I'd say Wisconsin since it's at home, but now that Iowa's down to their third string QB, I actually like that matchup better. But that's all I've got for today. So until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.